Screen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So here's my repeaters and twin sons guide. So what we're going to be going over tonight is we're just going to go over what the weapon is, basic information about it, the different weapon parts, what they are and what each of them do, what each of them does. There's going to be going over the common, like the most common misconception with the repeaters. I'm going to go over the twin sons with how to unlock them and the abilities, and just some recommended mod ability combos that I haven't personally used, but do, in theory, work really well. So,
So any prizes for guessing what the misconception is? Sniping weapon.
yes, that is the misconception. We'll be going over that later. So the basis of the weapon is repeaters are a ranged gun-based weapon and are currently the only ranged weapon in Dauntless. There are only 12 shots per barrel before you have to reload, which usually takes about 3 or 4 seconds. The weapon has a modular design and allows it to be customized. You don't have any bonds with the legendary barrels. And the cell slots on the repeaters are technique and mobility. So stuff like savagery, cunning, agility, conditioning, stuff like that. So the different parts of the weapon, you have the repeaters, which are broken down into several parts, which allow it to be customized. So you have the barrel, which contributes to the damage type, such as radiant, umbral, so on. You have the chamber, which changes the shot ability or the right click ability. You have the grip, which changes the drop ability or the Q ability. And you have the prism, which changes the passive ability of the weapon. So, first off, we'll go into barrels. As previously explained, barrel contributes to the damage type. Therefore, it's the repeater part with the legendary equivalent from escalation bosses. So you've got your Thrax, your Asparagus, so on and so forth. Meaning you have the legendary ability for that barrel. You lose the bond that you'd normally get on a legendary weapon. So you can't create the bond to get the unique ability of another barrel because they don't have unique abilities, and you also aren't able to get prismatic cell slots. So for those of you who may not know what prismatic cell slots are, they are cell slots which come with legendary weapons that allow you to put in any type of cell. The reason you lose this is because the cell slot isn't dependent on the barrel, but is instead dependent on the weapon class of repeater. So next up, you have the chambers. The chambers change your shot ability or your heavy attack, and there are currently 3 of them in the game. You have the basic salvo chamber, which fires 1 missile, which deals 400 damage, and when you empower your shots, you fire 3 missiles instead. You have the marksman chamber, which fires a shot that deals 250 damage, and also for 10 seconds increases the part damage on the part shot by 40%. If you empower it, that 10 seconds of part damage is increased to an extra 80%, and your allies do an additional 25% part damage in general. You have the full bore chamber, which is my personal favorite, which fires a piercing bolt which does decreasing damage over a distance. And upon empowering, it deals a straight high amount of damage. However, it does push you back a decent amount after you shoot it.
Question.
Yep.
Actually, two. The first one is regarding the marksman chamber. Does it
Yes.
deal extra part damage, or does it deal like extra damage to a certain part?
I'm pretty sure that it is. So when unempowered, I'm pretty sure it's 40% additional part damage to the targeted part, which is usually shown by a little like crosshair.
Yeah.
But when you empower it, that part specifically takes 80% more part damage, and I'm pretty sure there's 25%, an additional 25% part damage in general
I
for
see.
every part.
Okay, then the second question is since you mentioned the chamber abilities are considered the heavy attack, does it
Yes.
mean that for all three of them, using +6 weighted strikes, you can boot behemoths?
That I'm actually not too sure of. I haven't personally tested that, but it does make sense how you could think that. So I'm sorry I couldn't answer that question.
Okay, all good.
Okay, so next up are the grips. So each grip, as explained before, changes the drop ability or the special attack. There are only two of them in the game so far. There is the Captain's Grip, which drops a 20% attack speed buff for 15 seconds, or on Empowered, it shows three swords, which applies this same buff to the whole team when picked up. Then you also have the Saboteur's Grip, which drops a mine, which deals anywhere from 400 to 700 damage. And on Empowering, deals 900 damage and has the ability to interrupt behemoths after a small charge time.
So you throw that, do you?
Yes, so these ones will land on the ground. The mine obviously has to be touched by the behemoth to detonate. Otherwise, it expires after, I'm going to say 10 seconds.
Do you have to like
Um,
time it so that the behemoth's on top of it, or what? Or does it just when it makes contact with the behemoth?
Oh, for
when
this
it,
one, actually, I just tried out repeaters recently, so I can answer this saboteur script question.
go ahead.
The charging of the mine determines the damage, but the empowering of the mine determines the boop. So, and also the damage, but mainly the boop. So, as long as it's empowered and you throw it, you don't have to wait for it to charge to be able to boot behemoths. Yeah, you can just chuck it in their face and it'll
Yeah,
boot them.
I figured as much because I've done that with Amberman a few times where I just like launch it in its face and it just flies
Yeah.
right over me.
That is actually more reliable because I tried throwing it on the ground, waiting for it to charge. And when
Yeah, I find
Enderman
that doesn't
comes,
work very well.
sometimes the hitboxes don't collide. Yeah, so
Yeah. So leaving it on the ground does usually end up with inconsistent results.
So it's got to be empowered. Okay,
Yeah, it's got to be empowered to boop.
that means you have
Super.
to. Sorry, go ahead.
Go,
Kevin.
Be
go on,
like-
go on, Evil. Go on.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask, how do you empower it again?
You have to be like right in the behemoth's face. I'll go over that later.
Ah,
oh, just
well.
reload when you're like beside the
Reload
behemoth.
close
Yeah.
to the behemoth. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I have a question though. Super.
Okay.
When you use Captain's grip, and
Yeah.
then when you are empowered, and then you can buff the team with the attack speed, right?
Yes.
So the buff, should you take it, or can be anyone in the team as long as you are empowered?
It doesn't matter who takes it. So when it's empowered, as you can see from the little icon next to it, it will show three swords. And as long as anyone picks up that amp, as long as anyone picks up that buff with the three swords, it will apply the buff to the whole team.
Okay.
When it's unempowered, it only shows one sword.
Yeah, and it only applies for one person if it's one sword, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
One sword
because
is
I
one
saw,
person, three swords is the team.
yeah, I think I saw like last trial, probably Ember Meme, or I forgot which trial. So Texas Ranger dropped the buff to another person instead of taking it for himself. But it's only
Yeah.
one sword too. In they did it in the platform on
So
the
it buffs
platform.
the person who picked it up. Yeah.
Yep, the pike player.
Yeah, so it would buff their attack speed by 20% for the next 15 seconds.
Yeah, but once empowered, anyone can take it. and it
Yes.
will buff the whole team. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, moving on, the common misconception, as Imperia pointed out before, is the repeaters, while being a gun, aren't technically a ranged weapon. Yes, you can create distance between you and the behemoth. However, you can't snipe with them. You can't stay really far behind, and yeah, so I'm going to explain that now. So the repeaters have these damage fall-off zones. These aren't official names for them. They're just names that I like to keep for them, and I like to think that there are 5 of them. I'll show you in game a little bit. I'll show you a little bit more in game. So you have these multiple damage zones. So you've got the empowered zone, which is right in the behemoth's face, and this is where your shots will be empowered and will give you the different buffs for different abilities. You have what I like to call the critical zone, which is about, I'd like to say, 5 meters away from the behemoth, where your crosshair is red, and that's where you deal the maximum amount of damage. You have the safe zone, which is just outside of where your thing is red. There's minimal fall off, and however, you can still be hit with like long range behemoth attacks. You've got the chicken feed zone, where you deal like really little amounts of damage, which is pretty much anywhere up to like 15-20 meters. And then you have the futile zone, where you deal just absolutely no damage. So keeping the zones in mind, it makes the repeaters a really dodge heavy weapon choice, what with having to be really close to it. So I'll jump into the training grounds.
Bit unfortunate to be standing behind Cracker Fat.
Yeah, just a little bit.
He's not standing next to Pedo Paulie. Hey, Kadama.
Okay. This loads. There we are. Okay. So the empowered zone is right in the behemoth's face. As you can see, the repeaters are glowing, and that means when I reload, my shots will be empowered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So next is just out here, which is the critical zone. See how my crosshair is red when it's on the behemoth? That means I'm still going to be dealing maximum amounts of damage. However, I don't get buffs from empowered. So then coming off, so here I still do 150, but out here I start doing 92. So
That's
this,
a huge cut.
yeah. So this is that safe zone where only things like Shroud, Shrike, where all the birds' arms seem to always reach. And then as I keep going off this way, if I don't fall off, yeah, if I don't fall off the island, yeah. So I do reduce damage, which is the safe zone. And then when I'm off back here, 8 damage. That's the coined chicken feed zone, where you do really small amounts of damage. And then if I go all the way over here and try and shoot at the behemoth,
I don't think you make contact. Yeah.
it just doesn't reach, and that's where you do absolutely no damage. So, yeah, keeping that in mind, you want to be close to the behemoth so you get the empowered shots, but you do then need to dodge, which is where Twin Suns comes in. So Twin Suns are the exotic version of the repeaters in Dauntless, and which means that they have a completely unique ability set. They are unlocked late game, these ones through the trial store, and you cannot transmog you cannot transmog them. So if I go into here, there's just not a choice to transmog the things. I can't change the appearance of them at all. These abilities are locked, so I can only change the mod or the cells. Okay, so the Twin Suns are one of 4 exotic weapons currently in the game, and they deal neutral damage, so they don't have any elemental pairings, meaning they're not weak or strong against any particular type of behemoth. Okay, so unlocking the
Oh,
Twin
so
Suns.
currently is it the only exotic weapon that's available?
I'm pretty sure, like right now, I'm pretty sure, yes, it is the only one that is available if you didn't unlock it before the Reforge.
Yeah.
Only because these ones were always purchased through the trial store. These were always purchased rather than unlocked through through obtaining a blueprint and then crafting it with Will's Borman or crafting it with Will's Borman.
That was before reforging,
Yeah,
wasn't
that
it?
was before the
Before
Reforge. Now
Lewis has
after the
become lazy.
so then after the Reforge, they're currently locked, although they will be re-implementing them through rumors. So just like they have with the heroic dies, which have now just been named behemoth dies. So, how do I go about unlocking the Twin Suns? The Twin Suns, being an exotic weapon, are available late game, so you do have to get past a certain point, and there are 2 ways to unlock the weapon. You can either complete trial on normal difficulty to collect silver marks, and it costs 1,000 silver marks. Okay, so you need to have unlocked normal trials, which I believe is at Slayer Node 11, Testament of Skill. So you need to unlock normal trial mode, and I believe you can get silver marks also through the Hunt Pass. Still marks. That's it, not silver. So yeah, 1,000 still marks, or you can purchase the Twin Suns for 1,600 platinum in the store. Okay, so now we'll go over the Twin Suns ability set. So much like other exotic weapons, the Twin Suns have unique abilities. They are locked in and you cannot change them. So unlike other repeaters, the barrel does have its own ability. So when you empower, rather than having a straight damage buff, you have an increased 40% crit chance. So when I'm here, most of my shots are doing 154, with about 3 or 4 of them doing 277. But when I empower, more shots are doing 277, which is indicated by the little exclamation mark, if you didn't already know. The grip ability, so the right click ability, allows you to dash in one direction, and if timed correctly, allows you to dodge through a behemoth attack and lets you shoot 6 guaranteed critical shots, or if you activate the chamber ability, shoots 2 sticky bombs onto the behemoth. Extraction Catalyst pretty much instantly removes this cooldown. So Extraction Catalyst, I'll explain a little bit later, just reduces cooldown time. So when I hold a direction and I right click, I dash. If I can time that dash correctly, like through an attack, 6 guaranteed crits.
When you say 6 guaranteed crits, what do you mean? Do you mean
so
extra
it
time hit?
no. So when you dodge through, you'll basically I'll get into maybe a low level real quick and just go through like a lesser Nasher. Just to better explain this. So what I mean is when you're dodging through, you do like this small spin attack, which is guaranteed. Which shoots 6 shots, or which are guaranteed to be a critical hit. Or when you have the chamber ability activated, you'd shoot 2 sticky bombs instead. I'll go over those a little later. So I'll just show you what I mean now. See that? All
Oh,
of those
wow.
shots were critical hits.
So do you have to fire at the same time and they're all critical hits?
No, you just do the right click, you just do the dash when the when the behemoth attacks you. Okay?
Wow.
So that's what the right click ability does. Let me just get a little bit more damage off onto it here so I can charge up the chamber ability.
So
And what the
space bar, right click on the mouse.
no, just right click on the mouse.
Oh, really?
You can't use the regular dodge, because if you do, you'll just dodge roll through.
Yeah.
So that space, I just dodge through. Right
Oh.
click, I attack.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
So this is what makes the Twin Suns even more dodge heavy than the regular repeaters. The fact that in order to get these guaranteed crits, you need to use the ability correctly. Okay, so I'm just gonna exit the encounter. So the chamber ability, so the special ability, allows you to load 8 sticky bombs into the mag. So basically there's a small bombs, funnily enough, that will stick to the behemoth, and the first bomb on each behemoth part will deal 300 damage to it. Okay? So if I come back over here to the Nasher, so this is using the ability, I have 8 bombs that if I launch it on, does that. Now I can just left click to detonate them and they deal damage, right? However, if I do the dodge while that ability is activated, instead of shooting 6 guaranteed critical shots, it will fire 2 sticky bombs onto the behemoth.
Super. Is there
Yeah?
any limited? Is it limited time for the bomb ability?
Yes,
Like
the sticky
once you.
bombs do have a limited time. So once you activate it, it's quite a generous amount of time. It's like I'm gonna say 20, 25 seconds.
Okay.
So you don't have to empty them out all immediately. And once that 20 seconds runs out, the bombs will automatically detonate rather than just not work. So whichever
Okay, cool.
bombs you have shot will just instantly detonate. So yeah.
You just shoot it using normal primary
Normal
attack.
click, yes.
Yeah, normal click, normal right click. Sorry, normal left click. So
Yeah.
instead of shooting bullet, you are shooting bomb when that ability is active.
You hit the Q and then you can use
So
the
hitting the Q shoots the bombs.
Got it, right.
If they miss the behemoth, they'll just explode on the ground.
Right.
And if
And
I
then-
manage to get the dodge right,
How do you make them explode?
so you can either left click to detonate them before the time runs out, or you can wait till the time runs out like you just saw, which will cause them to just automatically detonate.
Okay.
So let me just go to this Nasher because it'll be easier to demonstrate the bombs. It'll be easier just to dodge through. Of course, it's a regular Boreas. Why did I think that was Nasher? I'm just going to shoot that to try and get that back up. It's like, yeah, no, this thing's going to die before I can do anything. Okay. So again, I missed the dodge. However, I wait for it to attack. Yeah, no, this is not going great well. Okay. So if I could actually dodge Boreas correctly, you would have seen me fire 2 bombs onto the thing. And the prism for the Twin Suns reduces the chamber cooldown by 3 seconds.
Is it a
On
particular
dodge,
prism?
I'm pretty sure. No, it's the set. So with Twin Suns, it's a set ability. So if I go in here, and just so I can show you, it's a set. Okay, so after a critical strike, you reduce the cooldown of the mag bomb mode by 3 seconds. So pretty much, if I'm close to the behemoth and I'm empowered, I'll be dealing a lot of crit damage. So every time I shoot one of those, my special ability will reduce by I'll be able to use it 3 seconds earlier for each crit. So it's quite nice. It's a rather crit-based weapon, so you can use Lucky Magazine to boost crit chance even further. And then the final thing I have is just some recommended pairings for chambers and mods. So with the the first one for the regular repeaters is the marksman chamber and precision sights. So this just allows for additional damage dealt to the targeted part. So marksman chamber, as explained before, increases the part damage taken by a certain behemoth part. And precision sights, if you attack a certain behemoth part more, you'll get a increased part damage buff that stacks. So on one shot, I deal the base amount of damage, but then on the second shot, I'll deal more part damage, and so on until I think 8 shots, and that's the limit for precision sights. On the Twin Suns, the one that I like to use is the set grip ability, which is the dash, with Extraction Catalyst. So Extraction Catalyst on a dodge through a behemoth attack reduces the cooldown of all abilities by, I think, I'm going to say 2 seconds. And seeing as the cooldown for the dash ability is already quite short, using Extraction Catalyst basically just reduces the cooldown to absolutely 0. So when Nasher is doing his tail slams, you can just keep dodging through the tail slams because you have absolutely no cooldown on the ability, rather than having to wait for every 2 or 3 tail slams.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's why I love Twin Suns against Nasher. And the last one is using the set barrel ability, so the sticky bombs and Lucky Magazine. So as said before, when empowered, you deal a 40% increased crit damage. However, when you activate the grip ability, your shots will be empowered for a reduced amount of time, meaning you will get that 40% crit chance added. And with Lucky Magazine, if you use it at 0 shots, you will go from 40% crit chance to a bonus 62%. Because Lucky Magazine, for every shot missing in the mag, so you'll get an increased crit chance by a certain amount. Can't quite remember off the top of my head.
It is. Wait, hang on. 2%
Lucky
critical strike chance for each round missing
Lucky
from the
Magazine,
magazine.
yeah. So if you have 8 rounds missing from the magazine, and then you have 2% critical strike chance for every one of those, you'd get from 40 to 62. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening in, and I'm happy to take any questions. I'm happy to go back over anything. So shoot away.
For the 6 shots from the Twin Suns dodge,
Yes.
is there any way to aim it?
No, there's no way to aim it. However, you don't need to aim it because they'll all automatically shoot the behemoth. So yeah, although it looks like you
So
spin,
you cannot
you
like
shoot
target
all the
any part?
shots. No, it just shoots the behemoth. So if I go through this, they just
Yeah.
shoot Nasher. And as I tried demonstrating before, it shoots 2 bombs onto the Nasher.
I wonder if it's affected by, which direction you face and stuff like that.
I don't think so, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm good. That was a very good presentation. Super.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
try them out soon too. They've been sitting in my inventory. I don't play repeaters much. They're always the last thing I do.
So in which situation would you recommend regular repeaters, and in which situation would you recommend like Twin Suns?
Twin Suns being a neutral weapon, pretty good all around. Although sometimes I find that only being stuck to a right click and a Q ability can be a little boring sometimes. So usually whenever if I want to get through a certain behemoth quickly and I want to take advantage of the elemental differences, then I will take, if I want to take advantage of the elemental advantages, I'll use regular repeaters.
Mm.
And if ever I want to just play around with a certain behemoth's legendary ability, but still use repeaters, then I usually go with that. So there's no specific situations where repeaters are better than Twin Suns or Twin Suns are better than repeaters. It's more so just what you want, really.
That's
Hmm.
sort of what I remember from playing them. The elemental resistance is pretty good, isn't it? Like you can just go cycle through the barrels with regular repeaters, but you can leave all the other cells the same. Is that right? I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah. So the cells, like I said before, dependent on the based solely on the weapon class. So as
Yeah.
you can see, both of them have technique and mobility. So even if I do change the barrel to the Malkarian, like the cells don't change. Nothing changes about them.
Yeah. Well, there's some future changes being touted for repeaters. I think someone mentioned something about being able to run faster or something rather than.
Okay, so all I know is that when you have the weapons sheathed, you run at a normal speed like everyone else. Obviously, there are abilities to boost that, such as I think Fleet-footed, which I have on my Twin Suns build. But when you pull out the weapons, you can't sprint and you're stuck at this speed. So if ever the behemoth is say the behemoth is where the healing vent is, and I'm over here and I've been shooting at it. Instead of running it at this speed, right now I have to put the weapon away, run over, and then pull it out, as opposed to just being able to run over like this. So yeah, it's rather slow, so I think they might be increasing the run speed for when you have the weapon out, but it's still definitely going to be slower than regular running, what with, having guns pulled out and keeping them aimed.
Yeah, but it's funny though, using repeater when you put out your weapon, you cannot run that fast. But if you can run that fast like the other weapon, probably they will reduce your stamina as well. Because now
Definitely.
when you are doing anything when your repeater is out, your stamina will stay the same basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So as you
yeah,
can
I
see,
just noticed that
I'm
then.
holding
Yeah.
shift and my stamina isn't moving at all.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
right now
you cannot run anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing with repeaters that costs stamina is dodging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
But I think in my
and also
opinion, like go on, Super. Sorry.
and also on the note of dodging, only dodging taking up stamina, the Twin Suns dodge does not take up stamina. So you can keep using that without having to worry about running out.
Is that
Mm.
special dodge you mean? The dash?
Yeah, that was the Twin Suns dash.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think like people like to use chain blade because they have extra dodge, right? With the special.
Yeah, with the special.
Yeah, it's pretty similar with Twin Sun. So I think like Twin Sun is really good for your solo play as well. For example, you want to go through like 1050 escalation using solo and repeater. Probably Twin Sun is one of the best repeater you can use because like you
Yeah.
can get that extra dodge and extra survivability, for example.
Yeah, Twin Suns you
Mhm.
have because Twin Suns you have the extra dodge which doesn't cost stamina and also deals damage to the behemoth.
Yeah.
While you take nothing, while also having the increased crit chance at pretty much anything. Like you do anything with the Twin Suns and you're gonna get increased crit chance. So yeah, Twin
Yeah.
Suns is quite good for solo play. Although, like I mentioned before, it's not objectively better than regular repeaters in any one, like, what's
So
the
you,
word?
so you wouldn't
Scenario.
need. It sounds like you wouldn't need much in the way of defense cells then, because you're not going to be close enough very often to be hit.
No, that you do still want to invest in defense cells because that's exactly the thing. You don't want to be staying in, again, what I called the chicken feed and futile zones. You want to be in that empowered zone where you're going to be getting all the buffs for your abilities, and with the Twin Suns, increased crit chance. So yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
want to stay close to the behemoth, which, like I mentioned before, makes it a rather dodge heavy weapon. So if you run out of stamina, you might want to invest in reduced stamina costs for dodging. You might want to invest in longer longer periods for dodges.
Wait, I don't understand though. Like, since nothing it does consumes stamina unlike regular weapons, why do you need extra stamina to dodge?
Just because with regular repeaters, dodging does cost stamina. So if you want to be, if you're going to be dodging a lot, which you probably are, you'll want to be investing in enough stamina. That is, again, if you're dodging a lot. Because right now I can only do about 6 dodges before I'm out of stamina. Whereas if I were to invest in some, conditioning
Yeah,
just
but I
allows
don't
me to regain
understand.
that
Cause
stamina.
like, let's say repeaters, you dodge the same number of dodges as you do when using, say, I
Chain
don't know, a
blade.
pike or something. Chain blades are cheating. Like, let's say a pike or something.
Yeah.
And the pike uses stamina for its combos and whatnot, but repeaters do not. So what
Yes.
makes repeaters demand extra stamina over like something like a pike?
Nothing does that. I just like having that extra stamina. What with
I
also not
see.
being able to move away quickly, because with the pike I can quickly just like turn my back and run with the weapon still out. Whereas with repeaters, if I'm in this thing's face and I'm trying to back away from it, it's going to hit me. So I'll definitely. So you might want to invest a bit there, but that's just my personal preference. That's not really you have to do this.
Yeah.
Like
Sometimes
I'm just saying. I'm
sometimes
just
if
saying
I
I like
use
doing it. Sorry,
go
you
on,
go.
Super. No,
No,
sometimes when I use repeater, for example, in trial, if you break one part and then you want to go to another part quickly, rather than you sit your weapon and then you run there and then open your weapon again, I like to roll to
Dodge
reach
through
that
the behemoth.
destination faster. But in most of my experience, like I do not have stamina problem with repeater because you will have enough window to just shoot it over and over, and then when you do that shooting, actually you recharge your stamina back. Especially if you reforge your chain blade 10 times, for example.
Oh,
Like you also
definitely.
reduce the stamina cost as well.
And if you
And probably,
haven't, and if you haven't done that, then again there is always conditioning to sort of increase the stamina recovered in those windows.
mhm.
Right.
So yeah,
Speaking
it's
of
mostly what
personal
you want.
preference, do you usually go for attack speed or attack damage? You know, when going for
Um,
repeaters.
Well, on the Twin Suns, I'm pretty sure I've aimed at more crit chance. What with already getting a lot of crit chance, getting even more is just great. But I'm pretty sure on here, I've got what? Attack speed, critical strike, damage and chance,
Molten gives you
attack
speed
speed,
as well.
attack damage. So yeah, I've got about 50-50 for damage and attack speed. But you can really do whatever, really. I like balancing it out.
I always use 6 Wild Frenzy in my repeater, Imperia. I like it, like faster.
Machine gun builds, yeah.
Machine
Faster,
gun,
yeah,
yeah.
machine guns.
Like I mean, like I almost use 6 Wild Frenzy in most of the weapons. Like I use it on axe, hammer,
Oh,
sword,
axe, you need it.
and
I'm
also
sorry, but axe, you just need it.
repeater. Yeah. Axe,
Mm.
you need it. And I think now repeater role in trial also very important. Like at least usually one person out of the 4 using repeater for the attack speed buff, and also marksman. Marksman is very important for part damage as well. For example, like Emberman trial last time full of marksman. I think like even 3 repeaters, 1 pike, and the buff from repeaters can help the whole team basically to
Yeah,
gain faster
repeaters
attack
has
speed.
always been excellent for, behemoths with weak parts like
Yes,
Emberman, Carabac, and all those.
Carabac, yeah.
But with the
True.
recent trial changes, I think it's gonna be
Challenging.
quite different. Quite different.
Also, one thing I forgot to mention, which I didn't find out until quite late into using my repeaters, you don't have to click for every individual shot. So you don't have to
Yeah.
click 12 times to empty the barrel. You can literally just hold it down.
Hold it down. What?
Hold it down.
So you can
Like
hold,
just
you can hold the shoot button, and it just repeat fires.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to play with regular guns and like shoot one at a time, you can do that. Or if you like doing what Cowbell does and have insane attack speed, you can just hold it down for machine guns.
Yeah. And the trickiest part of repeater, I think, like when you reload, it takes a bit
Yes,
longer animation. That's where you cannot
takes
dodge.
about 4. Yeah, I'm gonna say it takes about 4 seconds to reload.
It depends on the
Yeah.
attack speed, doesn't it? Like
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
depends on the attack speed. But that's the longest animation for repeater, rather
Yes.
than shooting your special ability
Really?
or it takes so long. Like
I
most
think
of
the
the time,
salvo chamber takes really long though.
salvo,
The
salvo,
three
yeah. The special, but I mean, like most of the time, I got hit because I'm doing reloading,
Yeah.
and then I got attacked most of the
Yeah.
time.
That's where you got to be
Yeah.
careful. So as you can see, here, that takes a decent while to load up. Whereas the ability was rather fast.
If you swap to like a marksman or salvo chamber, can we see how long it takes? Maybe you
I
can go to
don't
a
have
training
any-
grounds or something.
Yeah, definitely. After I deal with this. Which shouldn't be too hard because it's a Nasher.
And when you reload, you really need to take care. You really need to take attention to the bar on the top left, because sometimes when I did my reload, I was not actually empowered. because I was not too close. I
You
was
weren't
not
close
close
enough.
enough with
Yeah,
the behemoth. Yeah, and
What do
that
you need to
distance
look
is
for?
quite hard to measure
it's
actually.
it's very close. You pretty
Oh,
much need to be
yes.
right in the behemoth's face.
This leads to my next question. Like, cause you mentioned that reloading takes a few seconds to complete the animation.
Yeah.
So does it take into account the behemoth's position at the beginning of the animation or at the end?
Not
I
quite
think at
sure
the
what you mean by
beginning.
that question.
I
Hmm.
think because usually, like for example, when I played Emberman Trial, one person will poop, right? So when Emberman on top of me, I did reload and I was empowered.
And it flies past you and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
You want me to see? You want to see
There's the
changing
full
the
ball, yeah.
full bore chamber? There's the marksman
Marksman now.
chamber. So let me just get that back up.
I know that full ball is pretty fast, so a lot of solo players like it.
That was also pulling out the weapon. So if I just keep it out, yeah. So see how the part is taking a significantly larger amount of damage. It's because of the
But
marksman.
you know, like full bore when you are is it full bore or salvo chamber? I think full bore. When you are empowered, you will be back away, right?
Yes.
When you shoot. Sometimes I'm not sure like what's the function of that movement. I know in Quill Shot Trial, Captain Maelstrom did the full bore, so it's really good because like you can avoid the quill. But in normal gameplay, what do you use it for? Like some sort of
Literally
dodging as
nothing.
well,
Literally
or
nothing. Like it's just there. It's kind of
animation?
It's kind of bothersome sometimes as well.
Hmm.
But I'd
All right.
probably say salvo chamber takes the longest on.
Yeah.
So they're all about the same unempowered, but then
Marksman is slightly longer
Yeah.
than full ball,
So
and then
that-
salvo is slightly longer than marksman.
so then I'd like to say that unempowered they're all relatively the same, but then empowered not too much of a difference, but then there's a big difference in the time in terms of the salvo. So yeah, like you were saying before, here's the unempowered for full ball.
Yeah, really fast.
Right, so pretty fast. And that's what the piercing meant when I said that. It just it like hits the behemoth multiple times if it like goes through it. And I'm pretty sure it can also go through two behemoths, so in escalation, if there are two right next to each other, you might be able to go through, but I'm not entirely sure.
Now I'm really
Um,
curious about the 3 specials with weighted strikes, empowered and unempowered.
So am I.
Yeah.
I forget what weighted strikes is though.
It's a technique, so
I have a lot of those.
So if you use like 6 weighted strikes, you can boop behemoth using the normal
Not
shooting. You mean?
okay. We're not
depends.
entirely sure.
Like the specials, whether it needs to be empowered or not, and whether it has to be a specific special. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're just not entirely sure about. The whole. Yeah, we're just not entirely sure about what weighted strikes does. Probably not going to do that now, but I will get back to you on that. Hopefully, sometime this week. Or
Yay.
next
Okay.
week.
But it will be cool though. Like probably you can solo Emberman Trial with repeater without grenade. If you can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Well, are there any more questions?
Thanks.
Well, thanks very much, Super.
Yeah.
That was really good. I got a lot out of it, as some of you could tell. So,
Yeah,
if
I
you don't
didn't
mind,
know the holding down trick.